Once upon a time, back when Tumblr ruled the internet and Twilight was a global obsession, a teenage boy with dimples, dreamy eyes, and an 8-pack that could deflect bullets became one of the most desired humans on the planet. His name? Taylor Lautner. But before he was Jacob Black, the howling hot werewolf who divided friendships, fan bases, and possibly entire nations, Taylor was just a high-energy kid from Grand Rapids, Michigan, who spent more time kicking things than talking about his feelings. Let's rewind. Born in 1992, Taylor Daniel Lautner grew up in a middle-class household with Dutch, French, German, and Native American ancestry. His father was a Midwest airline pilot. His mom worked for a software company. Very normal, very grounded, for now. But by age 6, Taylor was already a black belt in karate. That's not an exaggeration. He was literally winning national championships while most kids were learning how to tie their shoelaces. He trained under martial arts legend Michael Chatterantibut. Yes, that's a real person, and even performed for the World Karate Association. By age 8, he was a world champion. So yes, he was doing spinning back kicks in elementary school while the rest of us were eating glue. The spotlight clearly agreed with him, and when Chatterantibut suggested that Taylor try out for commercials, his parents were like, sure, why not? Flash forward a few months, and the entire Lautner family had packed up their Michigan life and moved to Los Angeles. Talk about high-risk parenting. Taylor booked small gigs fast, think Nickelodeon shows, cereal commercials, background roles in TV shows like The Bernie Mac Show, Summerland, and My Wife and Kids. He also landed voice work in animated shows like Danny Phantom and What's New, Scooby-Doo. But the first real sign that Hollywood had plans for this kid came in 2005. Enter Sharkboy. Yes, the adventures of Sharkboy and Lavagirl in 3D, a fever dream of a movie by Robert Rodriguez, cast Taylor as the pointy-haired fish-themed superhero sidekick to a girl made of lava. It was loud, chaotic, and visually traumatic, but kids loved it. Adults, not so much. Critics laughed it off, but Lautner's performance was the one thing most people actually praised. Even Roger Ebert admitted the kid had something. After that, Lautner did Cheaper by the Dozen 2, which no one remembers, and a Disney Channel movie called Love, Inc. that absolutely no one remembers. But he was working, building a portfolio, and more importantly, he was staying jacked. Because in Taylor's mind, the next step wasn't just acting, it was action stardom. He wanted to be the next Tom Cruise, the next Jackie Chan, the first teenage action hero that made moms and daughters swoon at the same time. Hollywood didn't quite know what to do with him yet. And then came 2008, a low-budget vampire romance based on a book that no one took seriously was casting unknowns for their leads. Kristen Stewart was already locked in. Robert Pattinson was on the fence. And for the role of a supporting character, the sweet, slightly shy Native American friend who may or may not turn into a wolf, the producers cast Taylor Lautner. The character's name? Jacob Black. At the time, it seemed like just another role. But it would become the role that defined and doomed Taylor Lautner's entire career. Because as Twilight exploded into a glittery, hormonal, billion-dollar juggernaut, so did its stars. And no one could have predicted how fast the teen world would go feral for Jacob's abs. But little did Taylor know, getting the role was just the beginning. Keeping it would nearly cost him everything. Taylor Lautner was almost fired from Twilight. No, really. After the first film dropped in 2008, and instantly transformed from awkward vampire indie to worldwide teen religion, Summit Entertainment realized they had a franchise on their hands, and they needed it to be sexy. In the books, Jacob Black becomes taller, buffer, and more of a threat to Edward's broody vampire dominance. But there was one problem. Taylor Lautner was adorable. He had the charm, the smile, the dimples, but he didn't have the bulk. Producers openly considered recasting him for New Moon, looking for someone who could actually pass as a werewolf in human form. Someone taller, older, edgier. Taylor wasn't just heartbroken, he was determined. So he did what any 17-year-old with access to personal trainers and a studio contract might do. He turned into an absolute gym rat. Over the course of months, Lautner gained 30 pounds of pure muscle. He reportedly ate every 2 hours, lifted constantly, and trained like a Navy SEAL with a skincare routine. The next time producers saw him, they didn't just give him the job, they gave him an entire shirtless marketing campaign. In New Moon 2009, Jacob's transformation wasn't just physical, it was cultural. Taylor Lautner became the walking thirst trap of the franchise. When he tore off his shirt to tend to Bella's paper cut, yes, seriously, theatres full of teenagers and their moms lost their minds. And so began the great rift of the late 2000s, Team Edward versus Team Jacob. And let's be honest, for a while, Jacob was winning. Edward might have had eternal life and tortured glances, but Jacob had abs, and tan skin, and a flirty smile, and a dirt bike. And did we mention the abs? Suddenly, Taylor Lautner was everywhere, on magazine covers, late-night shows, red carpets. He was being chased by paparazzi, screamed at by fans, and cast in upcoming movies left and right. His salary ballooned. By Breaking Dawn, he was earning $12.5 million per movie, on par with Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. But with fame came something else. Speculation. Because in the middle of his Twilight superstardom, Taylor started dating another Taylor. Taylor Swift. Yes, 2 Taylors. One couple. Infinite tabloid coverage. They met on the set of the rom-com Valentine's Day 2010, where they played high school sweethearts. Life imitated art, or did art imitate a publicist's vision board? For months the Taylors were seen at hockey games, on coffee runs, cuddling in public, and radiating a very G-rated Abercrombie-adjacent kind of affection. But something about it felt curated, safe, like a middle school crush orchestrated by a marketing team. And so the rumours began. Whispers in the industry, online fan theories, and gossip blogs began to ask, was Taylor and Taylor a publicity stunt? Here's why people thought it might be. Their movie, Valentine's Day, came out right as their romance hit its peak. Swift was known for dating high-profile men before album releases, and their relationship's timing matched the PR cycle for both the film and her music. Lautner's image was still being shaped. Dating America's sweetheart helped soften his action hero muscles and cement him as more than just a six-pack. And then, just like that, it fizzled. By early 2010, they had reportedly broken up, quietly, without scandal. And Taylor Swift went on to release Back to December, widely believed to be about Lautner, an uncharacteristically apologetic ballad from a woman who rarely says sorry to her exes. Whether it was real, half-real, or pure Hollywood choreography, it worked, because everyone was talking about them. And Lautner? He wasn't just Jacob anymore. He was a heartthrob in his own right. But this is where the story starts to change, because while Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson were beginning to distance themselves from Twilight, pivoting into indie films and edgy arthouse roles, Taylor didn't. He stayed in the Hollywood mainstream. And the scripts he chose next? Let's just say they didn't exactly live up to the hype. So what do you do when you're the most ogled man in a billion-dollar teen franchise? You try to become the next action star, obviously. Fresh off his Twilight fame and with a salary that had ballooned into the $12 million range, Taylor Lautner did what every young heartthrob eventually tries. He went full Jason Bourne Jr. Enter Abduction, 2011. The premise? Lautner plays a high school kid who discovers his entire life is a lie after finding his baby photo on a missing person's website. Suddenly, he's dodging bullets, escaping assassins, and leaping off rooftops while unraveling a government conspiracy. It was marketed as a thriller for a new generation, but it turned out to be, well, not thrilling. Critics dragged Abduction like it owed them money. The acting? Called wooden. The plot? Ludicrous. Lautner's performance? All abs, no emotion. Despite a decent opening weekend, the movie bombed hard, earning a mere $28 million domestically on a budget of around $35 million. It didn't just underperform, it publicly deflated the idea that Lautner could carry a film on his own. And then Hollywood got nervous. Suddenly, the offers dried up. Studios had banked on Lautner being the next big thing. They thought they had another Matt Damon or at least a Channing Tatum. But the truth was, Lautner had never been tested as a leading man. And when he finally was, the results weren't pretty. So they pivoted. He was cast in Tracers, 2015, a parkour-themed crime drama that no one asked for, and even fewer watched. In it, he plays a bike messenger who gets caught up with a group of urban freerunners pulling off heists. Critics called it visually confusing, forgettable, and awkwardly edited. The box office didn't even notice it existed. Then came Run the Tide, 2016, an indie family drama where Lautner plays a protective older brother trying to keep his younger sibling away from their troubled mom. It was supposed to be his emotional comeback, his I'm more than a six-pack moment. It earned less than $3,000 in theaters. Yes, $3,000. Not a typo. By this point, the industry had made up its mind. Lautner was not a versatile actor. He didn't have the mysterious weirdness of Robert Pattinson, who went on to collaborate with directors like David Cronenberg and eventually play Batman. And he didn't have Kristen Stewart's indie grit or award season ambition. Lautner was stuck in a weird Hollywood limbo, too famous to be anonymous, too typecast to be trusted to say yes to bad TV, until he eventually did. That brings us to his TV turn in Scream Queens, 2016, Ryan Murphy's horror comedy series. He played Dr. Cassidy Cascade, a handsome, emotionally deadpan doctor with a mysterious illness. It was campy, silly, and self-aware, and for once, Lautner fit the tone. He wasn't the main attraction, but he got decent reviews. Still, it didn't revive his career. It just gave fans a nostalgic reminder. Hey, remember Taylor Lautner? At the same time, his public appearances became rarer. He didn't do talk shows. He didn't show up at movie premieres. He wasn't chasing magazine covers or trying to reinvent himself with a dramatic haircut and a fashion line. He was disappearing. And honestly, it was starting to feel like he wanted to. By 2017, the Taylor Lautner that Twilight fans once screamed for was nowhere to be found. No paparazzi photos, no viral red carpet moments, no indie film comeback. He simply vanished. And here's the twist. It wasn't a Hollywood scandal or a meltdown that took him out. It was deliberate silence. Let's rewind for a second. After a string of flops, Abduction, Tracers, Run the Tide, Lautner's reps kept shopping him around. But the studios weren't biting. Not for leads, not even for supporting roles. At one point, there were reports that his asking price, which once hit $7.5 million per film, had dropped dramatically. Some sources claimed he was only being offered $1 million or less by 2015, and even those roles weren't exactly prestige projects. His net worth, once estimated at $40 million during the Twilight peak, began slipping down as new deals dried up. He still had money, sure, those Twilight checks were fat, but there wasn't a pipeline of work to keep him in the A-list tax bracket. And then came a move that changed everything. He packed up and left Los Angeles. According to interviews, Lautner moved back in with his parents and later bought a house just minutes away from them in a quiet suburb of Southern California. He stopped going to auditions, he stopped chasing roles, and most shockingly, he didn't miss it. In his own words, open quote, "I was so scared after the franchise, I didn't know who I was without it." Close quote. And that identity crisis was real. Because during his peak, Lautner was playing a part off-screen too. The hunky teen icon, the abs' first celebrity boyfriend, the walking PR machine. His real life had been totally absorbed by the Team Jacob illusion. Once the cameras turned off, there was no script for how to be a 20-something former teen star whose fame had evaporated almost overnight. So he leaned into normalcy. He played rec league sports. He hung out with high school friends. He dated non-celebrities. Eventually, he met Taylor Lautner, a nurse and influencer, not an actress, not a model, not a co-star. The two dated quietly, kept things ultra-private, and in 2022, they got married. She now goes by Taylor Lautner, making them the ultimate tongue-in-cheek couple, Taylor and Taylor Lautner. Together they co-host a podcast called The Squeeze, focused on mental health and navigating anxiety. Especially the kind that comes with public pressure. It's not high gloss or fame chasing, it's casual, unpretentious, and dare we say, wholesome. And the fans, they loved it. Because in a world of influencers turned actors turned clothing line CEOs, Taylor Lautner was suddenly refreshing, a guy who tried Hollywood, got burned, and walked away. Of course, the retreat also fueled rumors. For years, there was online gossip that Lautner's disappearance was due to a secret scandal, or that he'd let himself go, or that he couldn't land auditions because of weird behavior behind the scenes. But none of those whispers were ever substantiated. In fact, Lautner's former co-stars have always spoken kindly about him. Even his relationship with Taylor Swift, which resurfaced in 2023 when he starred in her I Can See You music video, is now remembered fondly. For years, there were rumors that the relationship was a PR stunt, designed to generate buzz during her Fearless era and his rise in New Moon. Fans pointed to their perfectly timed public appearances, the awkward SNL kiss, and how fast it all ended. But Lautner never threw shade. When asked about Swift's song Back to December, widely believed to be about their breakup, he simply nodded and smiled. Open quote, "That one's about me," he once joked, close quote. It's hard to find bitterness in him. Even when fame moved on, he didn't spiral, he just healed. In a world full of child stars who crash, burn, and spiral into a TMZ headline, Taylor Lautner pulled a quiet magic trick. He stepped away from the chaos and actually seems happy. He may not have ended up as Hollywood royalty, but he walked away with something most never do: his sanity, a sense of humor, and a loving partner who shares his name. And in the end, that's not a fall from grace. That's a graceful escape.